Part 2 of our Cabin Fever 2003 in-depth discussion review.
Alright, part 2.
By horror fans.
Let's get back to the scene where we left off.
We break down all the loopholes, all the holes.
Alright, so now it's the bonfire scene. And this is where we meet Grim.
Of their first night there.
But before we meet Grim, Sean Hunter goes into this story about the bowling.
That is just
bowling
such
alley,
a stupid, just
the bowling
Eli
alley
Roth
incident.
story.
You know, it's a side story that he's telling. And he's like, yeah, man, you know the guy
it's like a Stand By Me type story.
The guy that handed out our shoes, he was always smiling. Yeah, they found his head inside the return ballroom. He was still smiling. And you're like, oh, great.
And during this, Liebeck's not even listening. Bert, the fat guy, the gullible ADD fat guy, he's burning his marshmallow, not even listening.
Oh yeah, he's not even listening and laughing throughout
the story. And then he
calls
Big Tits a slut, the girl from Not Another Teen Movie.
That part's hilarious.
So then Grim shows up, which is Eli
with his
Roth.
dog. So they're startled. Sean Hunter's done telling the story, and the dog's like,
he walks off to take a piss, and he's like, "Oh, jeez!" And it's like a jump scare, and he's just like,
"Hey, we're cool.
It's cool.
We're cool." He's like, "This is Mr. Mambo."
They're like, "Settle down, your dog."
And he's like, "Yeah, he's
Professor Mambo,"
and she's
and
like,
Big Tits is like, "He's a professor."
Professor what? And he's like,
being a dog.
Being a dog. And he's like, ooh, faced.
Scratch motive. Quasimodo.
And everybody's like,
Kazam.
What? And then shows the blonde kid.
Face.
Shows the blonde kid, and he's like, what?
No, then he's
and then he takes a sip of his beer.
He's like, positive bonfire.
You got room for one more? And then they're like,
and then
this
the superficial metrosexual, the blonde guy of the group's like, yeah, this is kind of a private party, so yeah, invitation.
And then Grim's just like, alright, that's cool, that's fine, yeah.
I'll just go and smoke all my rags, Griffith ass hairs.
I'll just smoke all my Mexican brown by myself then. And they're like, oh no, wait, yeah, we got room for more.
He pulls out a fake bag of weed.
They're like, oh wait, yeah, we just graduated and we didn't even bring weed down to the cabin.
I know, what's up with that? How did Eli Roth sat on this script and these kids didn't even bring weed out to a cabin.
Alright, so Grim sits down at the fire and he's like, alright, yeah, I used to be in Berkeley. Yeah, that's where I competed in the X Games. And
he's like, Grim is my skater name.
Grim is my skater name. This character's hilarious.
Oh, it's one of those characters that just tries to one-up every story and exaggerates on all those stories.
So then it starts to rain.
It's like trans humor or something.
Thunder goes and starts raining. He's like, oh, the party's ruined. They're like, all right, hey, Grim, you want to come inside? Into the cabin?
Not even close. They say a bunch of lines, and he's just like... And then the blonde chick is just like... this one time in Berkeley...
Oh, yeah.
These guys got me fucked up. Yeah, they made me drink beer for 5 days straight. And then Grim's like, yeah, I've totally done that.
Grim's like, yeah, I've totally done that, yeah. He's like, yeah. It's a pretty good one. So then, the rain comes, and then freaking, he's like, oh man.
Shit, I gotta go.
He's like, no.
And they're like, how far away is your tent? And he's just like, I gotta go there because...
it's about like...
He's like, I got $3,000 worth of equipment there. If I don't go to there, it'll get all fucked up.
It's like $4,000 worth of equipment pissed away, so I gotta go put it away out of the rain.
And she's like, how far away is it?
He's like, 20 minutes, but if I huff it, I'll make it back in 30.
But if I book it, I can make it back in 30.
And you're like, wow, you know those
She's
kids
like, okay,
that
bring the weed. You know those kids that try to like
and he's like, I will.
sugarcoat a story just to
and then he's like, and then he's like, check you later. Check you later. Alright.
So they go back, so the group goes back into the cabin.
And they're just talking.
And then it's just a random like Eli Roth line by Bert, the fat guy. He's like, Liebeck. He's just like, I'll tell you the story. This one time, he's like totally wasted. He's just like, one time I put peanut butter on my nuts.
And then my dog came in and licked my ass.
And licked my taint.
Right when I was coming in, you're like, oh my goodness. And then you're like, fast forward this
Alright, enough of that.
Alright, so then isn't this where the hobo
This is where the hermit shows up and he's sick as fuck
on the
at
door.
this point with the red blood all over his face.
And he's like, and he notices the fat kid behind him on. He's like, you shot me. And they're like, and then the fat guy shuts the door on him.
Actor.
Shuts the door on him. And he's like, no. He's like, you want him to come in here? And Karen's like, hey, he needs help. He's sick.
Yeah.
And then
Bert shuts the door. He's like, what? You want him fucking touching everything?
Want him touching you?
Your douche?
Your deuce? Yeah, it's like the funniest thing ever. Alright, so then freaking the hermit starts going in the car, like stealing the car, and he turns on the
So
key.
it shows them all grabbing
Starting up.
weapons, all five
Oh
of them in
yeah,
the
so they
cabin.
grab knives and everything, and it's pretty tight the way they shot it.
Oh yeah, beautiful idea how he shot that. The cinematography is just
So they run out there.
is what makes this a
Fat
9
kid's
out of
got
10.
the BB gun. Freaking Sean
It's as
Hunter's got the
close as a
bat.
masterpiece of original as it gets. So
then-
anyway,
So then they start attacking the car to get him out, and then he starts coughing up blood everywhere, and you're like, oh.
Blondie comes up with a crowbar and he's coughing up blood in his Jeep, and he whacks his own driver door window out.
Busts out the headlight.
They never even touch the guy while he's in the car. And Liebeck's got the freaking 22 that he had from the original
And you're
first
like-
day, and he shoots the car twice for
You're
no
like,
reason in the engine.
Oh, and then
Which
freaking
gives
Sean
him a
Hunter-
script convenience reason to be stuck there at the
Nah,
cabin.
then Sean Hunter has like a torch out of nowhere, like he's in a cave.
And then the girls have like hairspray, and they spray them all with like flammables.
And then freaking they light him on fire.
No,
and
no.
he runs
Then
away.
Sean Hunter comes out with a Louisville Slugger, and he does a damage to the car hardcore.
Nah, alright, so then the freaking Herman runs away on fire, and then it's the sentimental. They're all inside, like oh my goodness.
No, they set the
like,
Herman on fire, and it's pretty freaking scary.
oh,
It's pretty
tight.
suspenseful. Like if you're watching for the first time, you're like, "This is a tape where
Oh,
they
yeah.
took this movie in
I thought it was dope.
direction."
So then freaking it's the sentimental. They're all in the cabin, like oh my goodness, he needed help, and we set him on fire.
It's like an eerie sequence of shots, and then it goes to the next morning, and they all go looking for help.
And this is where freaking the
Big
chick,
Tits comes
the
out
chick
of
comes
nowhere,
out,
and she's
and
like,
they're all out
"I'm
front.
going to get help because you guys are all pussies."
She's like, what are you guys gonna do? Kill each other now?
No, they tell Sean
they're all-
Hunter to stay behind. And they're like, "You stay with the girls because you're a pussy." And he's like,
Dude, that's fucked up. I'm a pussy. It's hilarious. And freaking so then the two guys go walking in. The chick
Ryder
goes separate.
Strong was hilarious, legend in this.
And this is
movie.
where they come up on the hog lady with the pig. And freaking and
This scene is so
this scene
hilarious.
is hilarious. She's like, I want me a new hog. You see this? Would you eat this
It's
meat?
basically
And
like
he's like,
the
no.
character
He's
from
like, we didn't see anything. The blind
Misery.
kid. It's hilarious. He's like, no, we didn't see anything.
She's
man."
like, "You tell Murray some animal's been infecting all the cattle around here, and I want a new hog."
And you're like, oh. And he's like, well, we're looking for the tow truck driver. A car broke down. She's like, oh, well. I already been to town.
No, and then this morning they show the dead body, the hermit's dead body. He ended up in the water, the
Oh, yeah,
reservoir
and it's
somehow,
tight, and it
all the way
shows-
there. He got
yeah, it shows
because
the-
he was on. I don't know.
And
like,
then it
he was on
travels his
fire.
body down the water.
He was on fire, so he survived and walked to the freaking reservoir dam, and he's soaking in the freaking reservoir where everyone gets their water.
So then the camera trails down the tank of the water down the stream.
and
it
Sean
shows-
Hunter
and it shows
pours
the
a
reservoir.
drink. He pours a glass of water for
And then
blonde.
it cuts to
for
Sean
the blonde
Hunter
girl Karen.
For Karen.
She
she's
cries
pouring
and,
the drink.
and he's like, "It's not your fault."
And she's like, we set him
And
on
drinks
fire.
the water.
So then she goes back to sleep and freaking.
He asked for our help and we set him on fire.
And it's all this sentimental bull.
So then the camera pans on the farm scene.
Oh yeah, but
as we
then
were
this is
saying.
where it does the cut though of like the freaking like the dog and like the backwards blood on the windshield. That part's tight. I think it does like the red screen.
Okay, then she's like, "So why didn't you?" So then it's the farm scene as we say, and the bitch is just like, "I need a new hog," and then they're like, "We don't work for Murray. We don't know Murray. We're staying at the cabin." She's like, "Oh, why didn't you come out and say that?"
She's like, oh, why didn't you just come out and say that? And then freaking.
So they
she's
go
like,
in
"Alright."
there,
She's like, we'll go in and
And
call
they
my.
find out that the guy that they shot was like her brother or whatever.
She's
that
like,
lives with
"Oh."
them. She's like, "I wonder if it's
She's
Henry."
She's like, I wonder
"Nah,
if it
I
was
don't think so."
Henry out there who was causing
They
a ruckus.
see a picture.
And she's like, oh, they're like, oh no, it wasn't Henry. It was our buddy who was drunk. Yeah, he's had one too many.
It was better Walter.
It was our buddy Walter.
When he gets wasted, he's a dumbass.
Alright, so then.
So then it cuts on the bitch.
So they
and
get
she just-
nervous
she
and they
just-
leave.
Yeah, and then it cuts on the bitch who went for help, Big Tits.
Oh yeah, and she just like is like
She's
no,
in
she's
a
in a
canoe
canoe and she's
In
like
the middle of a
paddling,
huge ass lake.
paddling left and right, and you're like, wow, she's going
You
to
think
get
there'd
help.
be a lot more people in it, and she comes up on a deserted beach, and she grabs like a 5-year-old's underwear or something, and then she's like, "Hello, hello," and there's no one around. in the
And
middle
you're
of the
like,
day.
wow, really? Alright, so then it cuts back to the two guys.
And it's a slow motion ass scene, as we know.
Oh, yeah.
Know.
No, then it cuts to two guys and they
Marcy.
go in freaking like one of the freaking, it's just someone's random house. He's walking.
No. Then while this is happening, Sean Hunter stayed at the house. And this is when Winston shows up.
Oh, yeah, this is when the cop shows up and it's freaking the most funny scene ever.
Oh, my God.
He comes out and he's just like, alright, I heard there was
in,
a
in every horror, you need the comic relief character, and Eli Roth nailed this character perfect with this script.
And he's like, alright, I heard there was a ruckus out here.
He put all the funniest lines he ever heard in the 90s.
He's like, I just want to find out what the story was.
And he put it all into that scene.
And Sean Hunter's like, alright, yeah, sure, man.
That's probably why he hasn't done anything.
He's like, yeah, this guy attacked our cabin last night. He tried to come in, he scared the girls and everything. And he's like, alright, I'm gonna have to make a report of this. And he whips out like his little freaking like pocketbook, freaking.
And he's just like, we're looking for a phone. And he's just like, yeah, you're not gonna find one. It's because everyone uses radios, like me.
And then he's just like,
and then he notices like
the campfire, and he's like, hey, it looks like you
guys. A bunch of empty beer cans.
Hey, it looks like you guys are doing some partying.
And then Sean Hunter's like, yeah, we
came out here to party.
Getting fucked up? And he's like, yeah, we've been partying.
And he's just like, yeah, man, it's like my cousin back in Wambusa.
No, then Karen comes out and she's like,
everything okay?
And he's just like, yeah, go back inside, ma'am. Just go and drink a 40.
Just have yourself a big 40. Everything will be okay. She's like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, my friend back in Wambusa. Every time I party with him.
No. Then he's talking about this cabin fever town. He's like, this town, it's a huge party town, man.
He's like, yeah,
and
man.
Sean Hunter's like, really?
He's like, yeah,
he's
man.
Like,
he's like, the chicks notice
when you're the new guy.
The chicks notice you and they're like
5 pounds of dangling.
They know you got 5 pounds of dangling meat and they just
want
no commitment, man.
That's this town.
And he's like, oh, Sean Hunter's like, oh.
And then he goes on, continues on with this story. And he's like, it's like when I party up in Wambusa. I got this cousin in Wambusa.
He's like, I know I'm gonna get some sushi meat.
So when I party up in Wambusa, I know I'm gonna get some pussy, man.
Wow. All right. So enough with that.
They don't know I'm like a deputy up there, Badge made me grow up quick.
And then he's like, yeah, Badge made me grow up quick around here.
So then he goes to leave.
So then he goes to leave, and you think he's got a car.
You know how to reach me, man.
And he's like, 911? Sean Hunter's like 911?
And he puts on a bike helmet, and he gets on a
bike, and it's like, ching, ching. And it's like the funniest thing ever.
Then it cuts back to the horror.
You're laughing your ass off.
Oh, yeah. Get on a bike. First, 5 times you see this, you're laughing your ass off. Giuseppe Andrews.
Alright, so then freaking it cuts to Sean Hunter inside.
Foreshadowing, and it shows the red cabin.
Oh yeah.
This is when he stole the shot from Evil Dead franchise of where the camper pans over to red. And then it's the next day, and then it's later that day, and they're washing the car for Jeff's car, Sean Hunter and Bert,
Sean
the fat guy.
No, already before that, Sean Hunter's Alright, now go on.
They're washing the car with Bert. And then Bert's like, what happened to your 8th grade plan, man?
He's like, there was no
You're
plan.
nice to her, you like her.
She likes you because you like her.
He's like, you've been trying to get into Karen's pants since the 8th grade.
He's like, no, man, I got no plan. And then and then he goes in and he wakes up Karen again. And then she's like, no, stay. So then that whole scene goes on.
And then it's the table discussion now. And they're like, it's all of them get back together.
Alright, tomorrow we'll report the accident. That's the key word here.
Hold up, we didn't talk about how they were in the house. That day, they were still in the house. They all go into that one house and talk. And they're like, I couldn't find a phone. So they're all in the house and blah, blah, blah. And Liebeck eats the beef jerky. So then they all meet back up at the cabin.
Yeah, they're eating the guy's food even though they don't know whose house it is. He just walked in. Alright,
they're like, I'm not comfortable looking around even though they're all already in there eating anyway.
Alright.
We're going to go to part 3, the Cabin Fever in-depth
Cabin
discussion.
Fever 2003, part 3. Check it out.